The views and opinions expressed in this special program are not the views or opinions of Tropical Vibes 105.5 FM.
Welcome to Leadership Empowerment. I am your host, Dr. Bernard Young, and we bring to you topical, provocative, educational issues and topics to energize and activate our imagination and our thinking, to lift us to a higher plane in our consciousness, our exposure, and our understanding, to make Turks and Caicos Islands even better. Welcome to all of you out there, whether you're streaming in on the internet, by television, or you're listening on Tropical Vibes. We are delighted and privileged to be with you today. And our guest today is a second repeater. He's been here before in our first rendition of a topical issue looking at the historical and cultural ties between Bahamas and the Turks and Caicos Islands, so that those of our listeners out there can have a factual, historical update on our connectivity to our neighbors to the north, the Bahamas. And I am privileged to have Mr. Blythe Duncanson, who is sharing this show today. We're going to pull on his vast experience and his vast exposure, having lived in the Bahamas for many, many years and elsewhere on planet Earth, that have forged him into the individual he is here now. And he's been a pivotal part of the growth and development of the Turks and Caicos Islands. And he is none other than son of the soil. And he's here with us today. Welcome, Mr. Duncan.
Thank you very much.
Good
Happy
to see you
here.
again.
Pleasure.
And we had such a wonderful time the last time.
We did indeed.
I had to have you back. And just before we plow into the program, I would just like to offer a word of prayer, because we try to do this program in full recognition of the supremacy and the presence of God over our lives and over the Turks and Caicos. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we approach you today once again in this program. We ask for your divine presence, your guidance. Open our mouth, open our understanding, open our eyes that we might discern accurately and correctly the things that are necessary to be spoken over these airwaves, to elucidate, to empower the listeners, and also to bring unity to the Bahamas, to the Turks and Caicos Islands, to the region, and the oneness that we all seek in you. Now we commit and commend this program to you as unto a faithful keeper. We ask this in no other name than your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen. Amen. For those of you just tuning in, Leadership Empowerment today, and we're dealing with the cultural and historical connectivity and ties between the Bahamas and the Turks and Caicos Islands, Part 2. I just want to preface the program with these remarks. Firstly, Mr. W. Blythe Duncanson was born in Battle Creek, North Caicos. Bottle Creek, I'm sorry. Battle Creek, oh Lord, I'm thinking Michigan. Bottle Creek, North Caicos. And in 1947, in 1958, he moved to the Bahamas and settled in Little Whale Key, where he received his childhood education at the all-age school. His mother taught during her stay there. His mother, the late Cecilia Isabella Duncanson, has been a teacher at the Adelaide Ombler Primary School in Bottle Creek for many years. When he was old enough, like most children from the family islands, he moved to Nassau in the Bahamas to continue his secondary and tertiary education. While in Nassau, he lived with his father, the late Will Duncanson, who worked as a boiler operator with Bahamas Electricity Corporation. After graduating from Southern Senior School in 1963, Mr. Duncanson enrolled at Government High School Evening Institute and later the College of the Bahamas. That same year, he launched his career in publishing by joining the Nassau Daily Tribune, where he worked for 5 long years in the graphics department before joining the Bahamian Review magazine, where he trained as a writer and moved up the ladder to become associate editor. In 1979, Mr. Duncanson moved to Florida, where he joined Advertising Concepts, a newly established Coral Gables advertising agency. It was there that one day an account executive came in with a copy of the Cayman Northwestern, a popular news magazine that helped put Cayman on the map. Mr. Duncanson immediately received a download from above. He got the idea to launch something similar for his native country, the Turks and Caicos Islands. In 1981, Mr. Duncanson launched the Turks and Caicos Current magazine, which became an instant success. And 1 year later, he launched Turks and Caicos Weekly News. But that venture took him on a long, long journey, which has only recently seen the light of day after an intense and a grueling 30-plus years. And I want to remind everyone out there, before I just continue this, that any vision that God gives, anything that God breeds, will always be met with opposition, with difficulties, but one must always persevere. And this gentleman to my right had a vision for a newspaper, a periodical, and he stuck with it. We have to learn to complete what we start. We must finish what we start. And today, Mr. Duncanson looks back, as he looks back over the eventful career that was fraught with challenges, with pain and excitement, but few regrets. And like old Blue Eyes, Frank Sinatra said in his song, regrets, I've had a few, but then again, too few to mention. I did what I had to do and saw it through without exemption. One prevailing success he is proud of is having a very supportive and loving family. And most of all, Mr. Duncanson says that God's grace has kept him and established his going and has guided him through the many dangers, toils, and snares that have so often dogged his uphill climb to success. Blythe Duncanson is married to the well-known flower girl, Stephanie Duncanson, and is the father of local attorney Baron Duncanson and Rochelle Duncanson of Miami, Florida. So our illustrious guest today, Mr. Blythe Duncanson, comes to us bearing many experiences that has marked his progress to this point, but right now he's at the pivotal point of being able to look back and see what the Lord has done, and he's thankful for every moment of his toil. And we're here today to celebrate with you, sir, in this great and awesome, noble task. And you've brought it thus far, and our prayers are with you to take it for the next 20 years. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you much.
Now, our matter at hand today, cultural ties, the connectivity, the historical connections between the Bahamas and the Turks and Caicos. I want to, first of all, let you know this. These are recorded facts. Presently, there are an estimated 45,000 Turks and Caicos Islanders settled in the Bahamas and Grand Bahama, from Grand Bahama to the north, to Inagua in the south. In the Bahamas, Turks and Caicos Islanders are engaged in a wide spectrum of industry sectors, including government, hospitality, education, the legal profession, medical profession. They're engineers and architects. They're involved in light manufacturing, construction, law enforcement, banking and finance, church, and other sectors including music and entertainment. Turks and Caicos Islanders have made a significant contribution to the overall development of the Bahamas prior to and post Bahamian independence. Turks and Caicos Islanders that have moved and settled into the Bahamas have been well known for their hard work and dexterity, their sacrifice, their work ethic and determination in providing an education for their children and better lives for their entire families. I am happy to report that Turks and Caicos Islanders have been successful in their cultural and ethnic assimilation into the mainstream of the Bahamian society while making significant contributions to the social, economic, and political lifeblood and development of the Bahamas. So the Bahamas stands today as thankful and grateful benefactors of having been touched by Turks and Caicos Islands. And as a Bahamian here today, now a Turks and Caicos Islander, I too am a benefactor of that rich deposit that has been made, and my presence here seek to give back to this country something of what has already been given to me. And so I am here as a living testimony of what can happen when countries assimilate and come together and cross-fertilize and enrich each other. And today I'm wanting to ask our special guest, first of all, Mr. Duncanson, in this whole movement of Bahamians to Turks now and in the past, Turks and Caicos Islands to the Bahamas, how do you see that helping both countries moving forward into the 21st century?
I think you made some very pointed notes, assertions there in your introduction. But I think that we cannot overlook the fact, you used the word assimilation.
Yes.
Turks and Caicos Islanders assimilated into the Bahamian culture. When they moved to the Bahamas, they became Bahamians.
You're making the point that they didn't try to change.
Exactly. They did not try to superimpose their culture on the Bahamas.
Very interesting.
Okay. Turks Islanders became Bahamians. They became Bahamians so effectively that even Bahamians didn't know who they were.
That's
the truth.
Wow.
I spoke with Sir Lyndon Pinling when he was here, and I said, Sir Lyndon, how do you know a Turks Island in the Bahamas? And he said to me, Blythe said, that is difficult now. Once ago, we used to know them by names, because there were certain names like Forbes and Mizik and Astwood and Bean and all those.
Yes.
They were not Bahamian names.
Right.
But they're very much a part of the Bahamas today.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
You can't, I mean, there are Duncansons who are Bahamians. They don't even belong here.
Wow.
Okay? We're family, but they're not from here. They're Bahamians.
Wow. That's interesting.
Okay? So the point that I'm making is that as we move forward, as we try to forge a modern Turks and Caicos Bahamas relationship,
Connection, yes.
we have to, Bahamians remember, we welcome Bahamians coming here,
Of course.
but they have to remember that you can't bring the Bahamas and superimpose it on the Turks and Caicos.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Absolutely.
And that's a very important point. The Turks Islander living in the Bahamas doesn't look any different. He looks like Bahamian. When he opens his mouth, he sounds like a Bahamian. There's certain words they learn that when they moved up there, you don't say fuss, you don't say walk, you say work, and you say church,
You don't say gas.
You don't say gas, you say gas.
right.
So he learned that very well.
Absolutely.
You see? And
absolutely.
once you say that, then you sound like a Bahamian. So you're a Bahamian.
Right. Well, I have added gas to my vocabulary, walk, and I've also added goil. Yes, sir.
Unfortunately, a lot of our neighbors to the south cannot assimilate that easily. They weren't able to do it in the Bahamas.
Right.
My grandfather was a Jamaican.
Right.
He lived for 40 or 50 years, and he couldn't change his Trelawney accent. They can't, just like something in the food. They can't change it.
You're born there, you're born there.
Turks and Caicos Islanders were able to assimilate.
Right.
And I think the reason that we were able to assimilate speaks to the fact that we were intrinsically one people.
That's interesting.
You don't have to teach someone how to be a member of a family.
No.
Okay? And this assimilation didn't just start. It began with Columbus. When Columbus came here, and he discovered, and incidentally, Columbus came here first before he went to the Bahamas.
You
Okay,
made that
now
very
that's an
clear
historical
last
fact.
time.
Okay,
Yes.
he took the Columbus passage straight up.
And he had to hit the
He
Turks first.
had to hit the Turks and Caicos first.
Right.
The Bahamas over the years did not know because everyone knew that Christopher Columbus landed in the Bahamas.
Right.
They didn't know where in the Bahamas he landed.
All right.
But bear in mind, when Columbus discovered the islands of the Shallow Sea, which is Old Spanish for Bahama. Bahama is Old Spanish for shallow waters.
Wow. Bahama.
Bahama. And that's what he named it, the Bahamas, because there was shallow water.
Wow.
You see? We were very much a part of those islands of the Shallow Sea. In fact, he met us here first, and then he went on to the Bahamas.
Are you making the assertion that when we look at the whole archipelago and how it runs
Yes.
from north to south,
Like a necklace off the coast of Florida, coming straight on down.
straight on down.
The Turks and Caicos naturally completes that necklace. And Nagua is more on the other side, going near the Cube, near to Haiti.
Right. So you're making the assertion that it's already, if we really look at it, the way God designed it, it's one land mass.
It is one. What they call it, the continental shelf is the same.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And I think I made this point after Bahamian independence when they established the archipelagic principle, which is a 9-mile circumference radius around your territorial waters.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, it was I think it was more than 9. I know that whenever they did it, they couldn't do it because it would completely encompass the Turks and Caicos.
Okay.
You figure that Mayaguana is only 28 miles.
Well, that's true.
To the northwest, and Nagua was something like 38 to the southwest.
Yes.
Okay. We are closer to the Bahamas than we are to our capital, Grand Turk. Grand Turk is 80 miles from here.
Wow.
And Nagua is 35, and Mayaguana is 28.
Wow. That's a very interesting observation.
So, who belongs to whom? It's very interesting, yeah. And you have to cross ocean to go to Grand Turk, our capital.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
The rest of the islands are on the Caicos Bank. Okay.
Now, for those of you that are out there and you're just tuning in, I just want to reiterate, we're looking at part 2 of a program we previously had entitled Examining the Historical and Cultural Ties Between the Turks and Caicos Islands and the Bahamas. And our guest is Brother Blythe Duncanson, who has lived in the Bahamas and, of course, is a son of the soil and has an in-depth, detailed understanding of the development historically and the cultural paradigms as we have developed over time between the two countries. Now, Mr. Duncanson, it's interesting because I made the comment in the opening part of the program that the Bahamas is a developed in terms of its being a tourist destination. It has some historical
When you say the Bahamas, you mean Nassau.
Yeah, Nassau, yes, yeah. Nassau.
Nassauvians make a mistake.
Yeah.
I'm thinking that Nassau is the Bahamas.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Nassau, New Providence,
Okay.
is a highly developed tourist market and has a hotel training school and has developed the hotel product to a high level. In addition, they've trained and prepared from general managers to middle managers to executive chefs that are trained in the very best schools around the world and are working in the Bahamas. We have this critical mass of people who are ready to be used in the Turks and Caicos Islands in our hospitality industry. Yet something strange is developing. If I may explore this a little further, we note that when I look at the whole setup in the Turks and Caicos, particularly in the Grace Bay area and visit the other islands, most of the hotel personnel and most of the hotel staffing are made up of ethnicities that are not necessarily an easy fit into the Turks and Caicos culture and everything else represented here. What do you see there?
I think before we get to that, I think we have to let's continue this this assimilation.
This is okay. We can explore that a little bit more.
Why it is easy for Turks and Caicos Islanders to assimilate into the Bahamas. Because essentially, the same culture that the Bahamas had was the same culture that we had here. When Columbus came here, who did he meet? He met the Arawaks.
That's right. That's right.
The Arawak.
The original.
The Caribs were, the hostile ones were down in Cuba and that other part of the Caribbean. Okay. And that explains the Arawaks were peaceful people.
Right.
In fact, they were so peaceful that they allowed Columbus to come in and exploit them and
right.
wipe them out.
And control them.
But he didn't wipe out the Caribs because the Caribs fought back.
Warfare.
Okay. But the same lackadaisical attitude that we have, we got that from the
laid back.
Laid back.
It's genetically.
That's what the Caribs were. That's what the Arawaks were.
Yeah.
Okay?
Wow.
And sometimes when you lay it back too much, people will take advantage of you. That's Columbus literally exploited a whole nation of people that he met here.
Right.
Took them to Cuba and Haiti and worked them in the
Right.
mines.
Right.
And totally extinguished them.
Wow. That's an interesting historical.
In today's legal understanding, instead of Columbus being a hero, he'd be tried for genocide.
Yes. Absolutely. I mean, if history...
He wiped out a whole nation of people.
If history really would be written in the context of what happened and put on the same level playing field in the courts,
that's
in
right.
The Hague, and
exactly.
Exactly.
If he were tried
in the National Court of
posthumously,
Justice, exactly. There would be
some
some price to pay.
Exactly.
Yes.
But the point I'm making is that we had the same common history.
Right.
They were Caribs. You know that the caves in Middle Caicos, they discovered up to just a few years ago, artifacts.
They found artifacts
by the Arab. In fact, the duo. This was a chair that was designed by the Arawaks to dress their dead.
Wow.
You know where this was? This was in the museum in the Bahamas. Someone went and made a representation of a lady and brought it back to the Turks and Caicos. So if you want to see that now, you can go to Grand Turk at the museum there and see. It's not in the Bahamas anymore. It's here.
Okay.
It was taken from the caves in Middle Caicos.
Wow. Now that's an interesting historical fact.
And this was just recent. It's only like, 10, 15 years ago.
Wow.
Okay. So
We're one. We're one. I'm hearing that.
Okay. So not
people.
only we came from we have this geographical connectivity, like you said, because we're on the continental shelf. We are one group of islands, right?
Yes.
Listen now. When you watch the news in Nassau now, Basil Dean, who does the Met Office. Now he includes, when he said all that, he said, and our neighbors to the south, Turks and Caicos, they're experiencing 82 degrees today. Okay. Well, eventually they're not going to say our neighbors anymore. That's because that's like the synod, the Anglican. Years ago used to be the Anglican synod of the Bahamas, including the Turks and Caicos. Well, they dropped the word including now, so they just say the Anglican Archdiocese of the Turks of the Bahamas and the Turks and Caicos.
Yeah.
Put an and.
There's some other denominations that have the same.
Yes, the Methodist,
yes,
and I think the Church of
God
of Prophecy,
yes,
or the Church of God. Okay.
Right.
I don't know if the Adventists have. There's some. I think the Adventists are still under the West Indian Federation.
So they have one convention representing both countries.
Exactly.
Right.
But the point is that we said earlier when I was here last time, I said the main features that determine a culture, is the way a person dresses, the way they speak, the kind of food they eat, and the kind of music they play.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
You talk to some of the old people around here and you talk to them and ask them, what kind of music did you hear growing up? Did you sing? And they would tell you, brown skinned gal, stay home and mind baby. Never had a lick until you go down to Bimini. Okay? Going down the road wearing red shoes. Count Bernardino took this music.
Yeah.
And in Nassau, Count Bernardino was from Grand Turk.
Yes. I remember one.
Who money buy him?
Yeah. Mama lent me a pigeon just to keep
company with mine.
My pigeon gone wild in the bush.
My pigeon gone wild.
These were folklore stories
songs that stretch.
Yes.
The archipelago of the Turks and Caicos of the Bahamas.
Yes.
The Turks and Caicos in the south, all the way down to Abaco in the north. How is that? Is that by accident? It didn't just happen. Okay, because that's the way it was. Okay, we're the only islands in the Caribbean that eat grits. If you go to Jamaica and ask for grits, they look at you like, what's that? Go down to Barbados and go to Trinidad and ask for grits, they look at you like you're crazy.
Right. But we know grits in Turks and Caicos,
No,
and we know grits in the
That's
Bahamas.
what we grew up of that.
Yes.
You see, it's because the loyalists brought that. Don't forget, after the American War of Independence,
Right.
the Americans were trying to build a nation.
Right.
There were certain loyalists who wanted to remain true to the British crown. So they flew the Union Jack, and they said, no, you can't do that.
You have to assimilate.
Okay, we won the war. We built a nation. If you want to live under the king,
That's interesting.
go back to England. So what the British government did, they provided plots of land stretching from Abaco in the north all the way down to Middle Caicos in the south.
To allow
Now, we say, why not Grand Turk and Salt Key? They couldn't go to Grand Turk and Salt Key because the Bermudans had been in Grand Turk and Salt Key for over nearly 100 years.
Oh, they had already
Harvesting salt.
Wow.
But if you read Gail Saunders' history of the plantation era in the Bahamas, she will tell you that Middle Caicos grew the best cotton. It had the best soil for growing cotton, because that's what the loyalists did. They planted cotton throughout this archipelago. And we exported cotton to England and North America.
Okay.
The whole Bahama Islands, including the Turks and Caicos.
Now, you fully developed the assimilation of cultures, why we're one people, showed all of the historical connections, the other connections that make us one. And now there are Turks and Caicos Islanders in the Bahamas, ready, trained, equipped across the spectrum of industries and service industries, able, capable, trained, educated, that have been 5th, 6th, 7th generation Turks and Caicos Islander, Bahamian. And the Turks and Caicos Island proper now is in a developmental stage. And one of the greatest assessed needs in the Turks and Caicos Islands is human development. I think the government recognizes this. Businesses recognize this. It is a known fact that one of the reasons we are in the condition we're in terms of all of the other ethnicities and cultures that come from different parts of the world is the fact that there's a serious deficit with trained, capable, able human resources. Our neighbors to the north, the Bahamas, is full of culturally assimilated persons that's easy fit back into this culture without the language difficulties, without some of the misunderstandings and some of the other things. So we see the development happening, and this is really a cultural examination because culture comes into business, ethnicity comes into business, and everything else comes into the business mix. What might be, in your opinion, I'm just asking because I'm a business guy too, when you're in business, the newspapers are business, what could be some of the
drawbacks?
The drawbacks, the bottlenecks that stop this easier assimilation that could be less stressful, less costly, if you're looking at cost, and could breed more profitability, and gain and forward movement for all concerned. What are some of the drawbacks there?
The biggest drawback has been, like I said earlier, when when the Bahamas started to develop. Don't forget the reason that we broke away from the Bahamas in 1848. The issue was salt. Okay, the Turks and Caicos was producing something like 25% of the whole Bahamas
Salt needs.
That's right, from salt.
Wow.
Okay, the economy, 25% being contributed from salt in the Turks and Caicos.
GDP.
Long before Nago and Long Island with diamond started doing salt.
Mm-hmm.
Bahamians didn't know nothing but making no salt.
Right.
We had to go down there and teach them how to make salt.
In fact, the Naguans,
yes,
70 to 80% of them have Turks roots.
When Erickson bought the
Right.
pond, not bought or leased the ponds, he took Turks Islanders from South Caicos and Grand Turk and took them to Nagua to make salt, because the Naguans didn't know anything but making any salt.
Mm-hmm.
It is Turks Islanders who made the salt in Nagua, and those names have stayed there today. Names like the Gadettes,
Right.
names like the what's his name? What is Piper? What is the last
Hanchel.
name? Hanchels.
Right.
The Hanchels. These are names that came from South Caicos.
Wow.
Okay, they're in Anagua today. All those.
Right. I've even
Turks
seen
Islanders
a lot of Turks Islanders in Grand Bahama.
That's another one.
That's
that came
another.
from the pulpwood, the Pine Ridge.
Okay. Pine Ridge, okay.
See, the number of Abaco, the number of Turks
Industries.
Islanders came from my grandfather, old Sammy Saunders, came from Abaco.
Wow.
All right, the Saunders. You see, there was a lot of intermingling then, but the government then in the Bahamas, the UBP, even after the Turks and Caicos seceded from the Bahamas, broke away because of salt.
Right.
When the salt industry died
Right.
because of refrigeration,
Right.
no, people no longer needed salt to season their meats, to cure their meats.
Right.
The industry died. These islands they languished in the doldrums. There was no unemployment. A lot of people left, went sailing and so forth of that. My father became a seaman, joined the Dutch, yes,
Okay.
West India Company, and sailed between here, Bonaire and Curacao and places like that. That's before settling down and going on the contract in the
Right.
Bahamas.
Right.
But the Bahamas then was beginning to develop. First, pulpwood, pine. That's the pine industry. The
Okay.
pine was being cut to make pulp, which it made paper and all that sort of thing. And they imported Turks Islanders into Abaco,
Wow.
okay,
It's
to cut
interesting.
pine. Later on in Grand Bahama, which had a lot of pine, and they went and they brought them into Pine Ridge.
So Turks Islanders have been moving historically.
Turks Islanders have been a part of the Bahamian economy from
way back when.
Way back, modern day development of the Bahamas.
Wow.
Okay, we have been the Haitians in the Bahamas before the Haitians came.
Wow.
Okay, all right. And the UBP were wise enough.
No.
They were wise enough to realize that this is a group of islands, and the south of us, who share the same culture, they speak the same language,
right?
And it was a very literate, and I didn't know, Rex Messam, you know Rex?
Yes,
as a
Rex
Bahamian.
Messam, yes.
And we were discussing this, and he told me why the Turks Island was hated in the Bahamas. And I didn't understand that.
Okay.
He said, Blythe, because a lot of these, the educational system here was so good, and Grand Turk people, because everyone had some kind of schooling.
Yes.
When they went to the Bahamas, they were hired as timekeepers, and they
get
them
a preference jobs.
Exactly.
Okay. Okay. And that created the confusion.
Rex told me, and I said, that makes a lot of sense. Because I thought
so. It just wasn't a natural pushback. It was because you come and you in charge.
You bring this guy and leave the family and gone and don't fail and come back home.
Wow.
And now you can put him over me. That's the animosity.
That's interesting.
It made a lot of sense.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's very interesting. He said, but it's the truth.
Yeah. Because in some ways you see it in reverse.
The UBP, they use that, the whole system of divide and conquer. Yes. I never understood why the British in the Bahamas always brought in West Indians to put on the police force.
That was another thing. Yes.
From Barbados, from Guyana, from Jamaica. Because they didn't trust the Bahamians. Bring the foreigners in and divide them. Divide and conquer.
So
that's
interesting.
Because
that's interesting.
A Barbadian will arrest a Bahamian for thieving. But a Bahamian ain't arrest a Bahamian for thieving. The British, they have this thing down to science.
Yes.
Divide and conquer.
Yes.
And they ain't nothing changed.
Nothing has changed.
No, nothing changed.
It's a strategy that's historical and that is still effective today.
Wow. What they did in India, you remember? In
India. Yes.
And they divided the Indians up on caste
social.
If you were darker, you belonged to a certain caste. You're a little lighter, you came to this. You were lighter still, you were the Brahmins, and you had certain privilege.
Almost like the Willie Lynch.
The South Africans did it in South Africa.
Almost like the Willie Lynch system in the United States. Okay.
So, there's nothing new. And I think that's the UBP secretly, that's what they were bringing in these Turks Islanders.
Yeah.
Put them over Bahamians, you see? Because they can keep good time. They can cheat on, you come to work. You're supposed to be to work 7 o'clock, and you come 9, they can make
that.
The Bahamian timekeeper, he can make it for the Bahamians.
Yeah. So that's interesting.
It caused a lot of animosity.
That's interesting. Yeah. Of course, we had no integrity commission in those days.
We had no integrity commission, no. The Bahamas still don't have an integrity commission.
Maybe that's the problem. Maybe that's the problem. Yeah, we have to explore that one. That's interesting.
So this connection was always there. And you asking why it is that what is happening in the Turks and
Caicos presently.
We are not attracting Turks Islanders back home.
Exactly.
It is because the Turks Islanders became so well assimilated, so properly assimilated into Bahamian society, that he doesn't identify. He can't
identify.
It was John Donne who said, one never goes home again.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You don't go back home again.
Yeah.
You know who's coming to the Turks and Caicos? The children of Turks and Caicos Islands.
Yes.
And full-blown Bahamians like yourself.
Yes.
Coming to these islands.
Yes.
But those old Turks Islands who left,
they entrenched.
They entrenched. They wouldn't come. Some of them wouldn't even come to visit.
Wow.
There's another reason to that.
Okay.
A lot of Turks Islanders that went to the Bahamas, they became assimilated into the Bahamian, not only the culture, their language, their music, which was always a part of them.
Right.
But the Bahamian pattern of living from week to week and not saving, and I heard during a seminar.
Yes.
So trying to impress.
break that cycle.
Exactly.
Yes,
to
that's
break
a
that
cycle we got to break.
Okay. And I know when I grew up in the Bahamas, Bahamians live from paycheck to paycheck.
Paycheck to paycheck.
Okay.
In fact, they want advance.
That's
on
right.
the next
Money
paycheck.
is very easy. Money is very easy to get. Loans are very easy to get in the Bahamas.
Money is accessible.
For the simple reason that you need to find enough money to make your down payment. You can go to any loan association,
Right.
any bank, and get a loan to build a house.
Right.
If you want to buy a car, you need a couple of $1,000s, and you get any car you want in the Bahamas, because the money is there.
Right.
Don't forget that the Bahamian, I told you, Sir Lyndon told me that the Bahamian Congo has old money that goes from the bootlegging days.
Right.
Over $3 trillion in the bank. The Congo put his money in the bank.
In the banking system.
That's right.
Old money.
So that anytime you go to a bank to borrow, you borrow money from the Congo.
Okay.
You see?
Ultimately, yes.
Ultimately, you see? And because there's so much money there, the money is in the country.
Surplus, and they got to put it to work.
It's there. After
Yeah.
Bahamian independence,
Right.
the Congo stopped spending, but he never took his money out the bank.
Right.
Some of them went to North Carolina, where there are a number of Bahamian Congos living.
Right.
Some went to Cayman. I remember the Claridge and all of that.
Right.
But they didn't take their money to leave their money
They
in the
leave their
Bahamas.
money in the Bahamas. Wow.
See?
Wow.
So that Bahamians can, it's very interesting. When Saul Kersner
From Paradise Island Resort and Casino.
from Paradise Island Resort,
Yes.
the first loan he had to start, what's the name of it? It's now
Atlantis?
Atlantis.
Yes.
He borrowed the money in the Bahamas.
Wait now. You're telling me it
Saul
is possible
Kersner,
for
the
investors
seed
to
money,
come
the seed,
and don't bring new money?
when the Bahamas has so much money that to be an investor in the Bahamas, you don't have to come with new money.
Wow.
You just come with an idea, and the money is
borrow
there.
the money
The money is there.
Wow.
Hutchison Bampo, the Chinese who started in Grand Bahama, they borrowed the first $6 million in the Bahamas.
In the Bahamas.
Okay? They borrowed the money there. All right?
That's interesting. That's very interesting.
It's idea. It's the idea that you need. The money, you can get the money.
In the
We
Bahamas.
haven't. I'd like to see us get to a stage like that.
Right.
Because we have to remember that even though the Concajos are white Bahamians,
They are
not-
Bahamians.
Bahamians.
They are Bahamians, yes. see, that's the succinct point I'm really
and we're
getting
coming
at.
to here, and
Exactly.
we're coming here to tell you what is wrong with our economy.
Exactly.
Our economy here is not in the hands of Turks and Caicos Islanders.
That's exactly
And until
what
we
I'm
reach
saying.
the stage where
We
are
own the
empowered,
resources.
where the
Yes,
resources
yes.
are in the hands of Turks and Caicos Islanders,
Islanders.
we don't own our country. We don't control our
In fact, there is a danger for your economic power to be in the hands of outside influences and outside powers, because if something dries up, like the
salt
like it did in the past, the salt
we've
industry,
had experience before.
cotton,
The salt.
everybody took off.
The salt belonged to the Bermudans.
Right.
And when the industry died, the Bermudans packed up, took their wealth, and went to Bermuda. Left the people here to eat salt.
Right. And
The same thing happened with the loyalists.
right, with the cotton
The
industry.
cotton. When the boll weevil hit the cotton plantation, they couldn't, the crops. They went back to the mainland.
Right. So from the standpoint of leadership,
Yes.
from the standpoint of empowerment,
Are you getting on to something?
it is a vital component,
Yes.
success component
Yes.
in the building of a nation.
Yes, that's right.
For the national development
Yes.
to be in the hands of the local people, be they pink, white, blue, green, yellow, orange, red, it does not matter.
Yeah.
What matters is that who's driving the car.
Right.
The economic prosperity is in the hands of the local people.
Mike Lizick had the right idea. He got carried away,
Right.
but he had the vision.
had-
Mike knew. His idea was to empower Turks and Caicos Islanders.
Right.
He used to say to investors coming in, we have the land, You have the money. With your money and our land,
Right.
we can become both rich together.
Partners.
He got carried away, unfortunately.
Yes.
But
yes.
the idea, he
But
had the idea.
the concept,
That's right,
the
the concept,
vision,
that's right.
The germination of that seed of an idea
Yes.
is what we must take.
Yes.
We don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. We have to take what's good and leave what's not good,
Yeah.
and run and develop it.
Yeah.
And part of my mantra here, Mr. Duncanson, as a leader, as a trainer, as a human resource developer, as a businessman, as a pastor, as a teacher, is financial empowerment.
That's right.
People out there, you're on Leadership Empowerment today. My guest is W. Blythe Duncanson, and our theme subject is the second deposit, and it's dealing with the cultural and historical ties between the Turks and Caicos Islands and the Bahamas, and we're on a pivotal point right now about the resources of a country being owned by the indigenous people, and the indigenous people driving the direction of the resources. Because when I look out there in the landscape, in the financial landscape, in the business landscape, who's driving the car, who is in the pivotal role of controlling the resources in this country, are not Turks and Caicos Islanders. And as a Bahamian Turks and Caicos Islander, I'm vested in helping to make that transference happen.
Until that happens, we will never be able to determine our direction as a people, as a nation. We will never be able to determine our future. Because, we don't have a central bank here. We don't have no way. I mean, people can work here, take whatever, they put it in their back pocket and on the plane, and they've gone. All right? Because there is no mechanism for ensuring that the wealth stays in the country. Absolutely none. See? And until our political leaders get to understand this, the importance of localizing your economy, you don't have a country. We will always be at the whim of the Grace Bay boys. They will call the shots like they call the shots here. They have the ears of the governor. All right?
Yes. Okay. Well, those of you listening out there, these are very pivotal areas in the development of the Turks and Caicos Islands, development of us as a people. We owe it to future generations, yet unborn, to get a grasp, get a grip of our total economic picture, financial empowerment, economic diversification, to ensure that we're just not running the ball in the direction of the tourist-oriented industries that's now garnering the lion's share of our GDP, or the financial services industries that has the second highest portion, because there are threats out there. We just experienced a recent Zika
Virus, yeah.
challenge, and there can be governors, or not governors, but governments that come into place in the United States and elsewhere that could put a freeze on people coming to these shores. Also in the financial services sector, because there's now a movement to examine all offshore wealth. Uncle Sam wants tax money paid on all the billions and billions of dollars. So there can be legislation coming that could cripple our financial services sector. And as a responsible people and as a responsible leadership, we have to really begin to be proactive versus being reactive, and put these ideas on the table early and work out systems, strategies, and tactics to help now soften any major shift in any of our major economies like the hotel industry or the financial services sector. That the country can still stay afloat, people can still have jobs, people can still own wealth, the country can still grow. So this is a very pivotal time in the life of this nation. And there's so many opportunities that abound,
Yes.
but so many challenges also.
And we don't have to reinvent the wheel.
Yes.
We study countries that have implemented, a very proactive system, and we follow that. That's all.
Yeah, I've been looking at, just as a matter of information, the Lee Kuan Yew model
Yes,
in
Hong
Singapore.
Kong, yeah,
In fact,
Singapore, yes.
I'm reading a book, Hard Truths, about Singapore right now. I've been through it about 4 times. It was phenomenal
Yes.
what he did.
Yes.
Because they have no resources, marshland, and he transformed the entire nation, but you had to be hard-nosed about it.
That's right. He was an authoritarian.
Yeah. Because there was no popular vote.
Well, it's long been argued
Yes.
that
Yes.
that authoritarian
Yeah.
is the most effective
Right.
kind
But
of
their
government.
GDP.
It may not be the best kind of government.
Yes.
But it's the most effective.
Yeah. Their GDP high.
Yeah.
Productivity high. And another thing he said, you have to attract the brightest and the best.
Yeah.
You don't run from smart people.
No.
You embrace them.
Yes.
Because at the end of the day, it's going to add value
Right.
to your country, make you productive, make you innovative,
Yes.
make you creative, and the whole nation benefits.
That's right. Yeah.
So there has to be some mental reconstruction in how we think, how we behave, how we process information across the board. And I'm not only talking from a political standpoint, I'm talking from a social standpoint. With families, we have to train our kids in finances. We have to, even educationally, look at re-examining our whole curriculum of what we call education to prepare our people for the realities of a competitive 21st century world. And these are facts, Brother Duncanson. Anything you want to share while we are on this vein?
I think we'll all do well to study the Lee Kuan Yew model. Yeah, I think, I read the book pretty thick.
Right.
But he was revolutionary.
Yes.
And he was a London trained barrister. You
Yes.
know that? That's his background.
And one thing he said in the book, and I just saw it yesterday, he said, and he was making an observation. He said, the British are used to being systematic, not necessarily innovative.
Yes.
They run systems,
Right.
and they're tied to tradition, as opposed to being creative and coming up with novel, new, dynamic ways to address problems.
Well, they didn't go all the way back to the new world discovered by the Spaniards.
Exactly.
How many new islands did the British discover? I don't think too many.
Right.
All right. But they stole the ones that the Spanish weren't interested in and used it very creatively for piracy.
For piracy.
So very little has changed today. They're creative in certain areas. May not be inventive, but very creative.
Rule Britannia. But listen, this is very, very interesting because as we develop as a nation, as we develop as a people, and we understand the strong cultural and historical ties between the Turks and Caicos Islands and the Bahamas, there has to be some symbiosis, some symbiotic assimilation of strength. We're stronger together. Together we can make this transformation and make this necessary and vital change that's so rich and so possible out there. Any last words before we
towards this the idea of this thought of assimilating
Yes.
from outside, bringing Turks and Caicos Islanders from the Bahamas and Bahamians into the Turks and Caicos.
Right.
Those who want to assist us in our growth and development.
That's right.
I think there has to be an effort. We can't look at the old people to come because, seriously, they really have nothing to come with, They grew up in an era where they don't have very much to contribute to the development
To the
of
present
Turks and Caicos.
21st century.
Their children have education.
Yes.
They're the ones who have something to offer.
Yes.
And these are the ones that we have to appeal to. The children of Turks and Caicos Islands, the offsprings, those with an education, those with a dream, a vision, a determination to help make a mark in their country, the country of their fathers and their mothers.
Yes.
These are the ones and Bahamians who want to share, just like we went to the Bahamas and helped them develop their country.
Right.
We welcome those to come and help us develop our country.
Right.
There has to be a concerted effort to do that.
And in the banking and infrastructure sector, in government, in finance, in the tourism sector, there are Bahamian GMs.
Yes.
At every level in the tourist sector, tourist professionals. There are Bahamians in a global arena, competing with the rest of the world in certain core areas of operation.
Particularly in the area of tourism.
Exactly.
You know, that I was talking to Jeremy Jones, who was a manager with Beach's Sandals.
Right.
He was trained, he said to me, I was trained in the Bahamas at the Hotel Training College in the Bahamas.
Wow.
Don't forget that recently Jamaica didn't know anything about tourism.
That's right.
Jamaica exported bananas, sugar, coffee. It was the Bahamas. In fact, the Bahamas was looked down on by Eric Williams and other great Caribbean leaders. Because tourists, they said that
sugar cane.
They saw that as servitude.
Yes.
Okay, and Eric Williams said, I didn't want to make my people servants.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
We want industries for them to develop. But
right.
When the industry failed, Trinidad got oil today, but they can't sell it. Nobody to sell it to. So everybody now is going to tourism industry, and the Bahamas is light years ahead.
Yes. And for those of you out there that are excited about the era and the time we're in, these are exciting times. They're the best of times, because with the plethora of challenges comes an avalanche, a tsunami of opportunities. And we must always be scouring the landscape, looking for fresh, new doors that could open to really get a piece of this country and really turn things around. And I'm just delighted to have had you on today, Blythe. Thank you so much. I know this subject is near and dear.
We never have enough time when we're here.
Yeah, we never have enough time. Wake up, everybody. No more sleeping in bed. No more backward thinking. Time for thinking ahead. Turks and Caicos Islands, wake up. Leaders, wake up. Social activists, wake up. Family leaders, wake up. It is time to advance the Turks and Caicos Islands to a new level of development, a new level of possibility, a new level of success. Wake up, and may God bless the Turks and Caicos Islands.
And opinions expressed in the preceding program are the show host, their guests and callers, and not the views or opinions of Tropical Vibes 105.5 FM.